The roadmap's there.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you all to the beautiful atrium here at Harrisburg City Hall. Thank you for coming out. Today is a very special, monumental moment, not only in the history of Harrisburg, but I think also in the history of this Commonwealth. A great fiscal emergency has subsided, and the city is in the process of taking the reins of control back. We've been very fortunate through the process of receivership to have had two tremendous individuals act as receivers for the city of Harrisburg. First, Dave Unkovic, a man that came into the communities, worked hard to bring neighborhood support, held public meetings, and developed a truly tremendous plan. And then General Lynch, who took hold of that plan and through a sort of self-effacing guilelessness, brought all the parties to the table to make the difficult decisions and to ensure that this fiscal emergency would indeed subside. And none of that would have been possible without the leadership and vision of a governor who chose to do something that might have been tremendously politically unpopular, chose to weigh in and help the city of Harrisburg for the first time break through its gridlock, work in bipartisan ways to bring people together, and to try and forge a positive, constructive relationship between the city and the state. That governor was Governor Corbett. He took tremendous risks in establishing this receivership. It has paid off. But make no mistake, while the emergency, the financial emergency, has subsided, there's still much work to be done. And we are going to be working very closely with the state over the months and years to come to make sure that the strong plan is implemented, that Harrisburg is well managed, and that ultimately we have accountability for the citizens of this city and for the Commonwealth as a whole. There will be no full recovery for Harrisburg until that accountability comes. There is no ounce of resolve that is not going to be employed in making sure that that accountability comes. The law firms that were part of the receivers team are now part of the coordinators team. The Attorney General is undergoing a comprehensive investigation. You have a mayor, city council, and citizen activist voices that are going to make sure that we have accountability in the future for Harrisburg. But we are here today to celebrate a moment, a watershed moment in this city's history, a moment in which a seemingly unsolvable financial crisis has been solved. And it is appropriate at times like this to give thanks to all those who have played an important role in making sure that that crisis was resolved. And first and foremost is our governor. I'd like to welcome Governor Tom Corbett.
Thank you, Mayor, and I think you accurately described the historic nature of this. You may have underestimated the historic nature of this because as far as I know, from what I am told, this might be the first time in the country that something like this has happened, and it only happens because people work together. It's a significant milestone for the recovery, for the fiscal recovery of Harrisburg, but it also is a significant milestone of saying, yes, just as the mayor said, we're at this point, we're celebrating coming out of the emergency, but we realize that the city really needs to move forward, and what can we do to help that? And it has everybody working together. This is a process that allowed our capital city, the capital of our state, to reform its finances and to streamline its operations, building a stronger framework on which to move forward here in the 21st century. With the termination of the receivership, Harrisburg continues that march forward. I personally want to thank all those who have been involved, just as the mayor has done. And particularly, I want to thank David Unkovic for undertaking the beginning process, and then General Lynch for doing what generals do, come in and take command. And that's exactly what he did. And he did it bringing everybody together, working with the lawyers that have been hired, working with the state, working with the city, and plotting out the battle plan as to how you get to this point where we are today, and then putting in the network of players that will continue to work with the city to get out of the total overall process while we continue to work on trying to grow not only Harrisburg, but all of Pennsylvania. I know the mayor probably joins with me in saying that we'd like to see more jobs coming to Harrisburg, and I certainly would, and we're going to do our best effort to try and have that happen. I also want to thank our former mayor, Mayor Thompson, for her work on this also. You know, it's very unusual for any city to be in a situation as we were. We've seen other cities. You know, we have cities that are in Act 47, and I want to thank Alan Walker, my Secretary of DCED, and the work that his team does with the cities that are in Act 47. And I think we sent somewhat of a template of how we can go through this process and hopefully get these cities out of Act 47 as we work on trying to grow their economy and deal with the issues that they're facing. And I know in talking to the elected mayors and council people in many of those cities, many of the third-class cities of Pennsylvania, and even one of the other cities of Pennsylvania, one of the issues that we're going to have to face, and we're facing it at the state level, we're going to have to face it, and that's the issue of the pensions. And until we do that, the process and the problems that we have in front of us cannot be overcome until we start facing those individual issues. We've seen nationwide, states like California have struggles, New York have struggles, Illinois have struggles when it comes to pensions, but we've also seen cities like Detroit and Michigan have struggles. I was with the governor of Detroit, or Michigan, earlier this week, and we talked about Detroit, and we know that everybody is watching what's going on in Detroit. And again, there is one that pensions are creating a problem. But we want to see the economy grow here, and until the problems, the fiscal problems here in Harrisburg are resolved completely, it's going to be hard to attract that business. We're starting to attract it. We know some people. I personally know one person who bought a significant piece of property here. It's going to bring jobs here to Harrisburg. And Mayor, I think you know who I'm talking about. But we want to see more companies do that. How do you attract them? You have a city that has its fiscal house in order. Just as we are starting to attract jobs to Pennsylvania because we're getting our fiscal house in order, so too is the city of Harrisburg. So I don't want to go on and on. We possibly could. I'm sure there's others to speak. I just want to thank everybody for working together. You know, when I became governor, this wasn't something that was in the description of what a governor is supposed to do. You know, we've never have done this before. But I'm pleased that we were able to participate. I'm pleased that the legislature got involved and gave us the authority to do something like this. But I'm pleased that so many people stepped forward to do something that, you know, David Unkovic and General Lynch didn't necessarily have to do this. They gave very much of their time and their effort, and their blood and their sweat and their tears to get this done. So I think we all should be giving all of them a round of applause, and thank you for joining me today.
It's been a great fortune of mine for the past several months to have really gotten to know General Lynch. He's an extraordinary individual, I believe. I use the term self-effacing, and that's exactly what he is. He has gotten things done not necessarily in the fashion that you would expect of a general, but rather as a mediator, as somebody who knows how to work well with others, as somebody who can disarm a room, bring people together, and achieve common goals. It's with great pleasure that we welcome General William Lynch.
Thanks, everyone, for being here this afternoon. Governor, Mayor Pappenfuss, Secretary Walker, members of City Council, thank you. OGC Schultz, and Mayor Thompson, thank you especially for being here. We appreciate it. And Fred Reddick, of course. I thank you, Governor and Mayor, for your kind words about me. They are kind, and I appreciate them. However, it's not often you get a chance to correct the Governor. So.
Be my guest. There's a lot of them out there that like to do it.
However, there are many who deserve recognition for this, and many who are in this room here today. First of all, Governor, you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for your decisive action. And especially thank you for your willingness to commit to the city now to get us to this point and into the future. None of this would have been possible without your personal involvement. We all know that, and we all appreciate it a great deal. Mayor Thompson, thank you for your passion for this city, for your commitment to making things better, and for your patience with me. Harrisburg is a better place because of you and your tireless efforts. You earned my trust, and you earned my respect. City Council members Kaplinski and Weber who are here, and all members of City Council, past and the new ones as well, and particularly Council President Williams, thank you all for your hard work, your pursuit of the best possible outcome for the city. Because of you, this plan is better than it was. Because of you, this plan puts the city in a position for success, in a position where success is possible. Also want to thank the county commissioners. They stuck with us when things were tough. You kept a larger perspective in mind, and you never gave up on Harrisburg. And now, Mayor Papenfuss, thank you, sir, for your leadership, your optimism, your commitment. We believe the city's future is bright. We believe that the tools are now here and that you can and will use them to achieve that bright future. The governor used the language of emergency management. He did that when he issued the declaration of emergency. I think it's helpful to continue with that metaphor. The circumstances that defined the crisis that led to the declaration of emergency, the crushing incinerator debt, the city's inability to agree upon a recovery plan, and the impending insolvency are no longer present. The declaration of emergency, therefore, is appropriately rescinded. In emergency management, when the immediate danger is abated, we rescind the declaration of emergency and we pass from the crisis phase into the recovery phase. That's where we are now. The hard work of returning the city to normal activity begins. That day-to-day, unglamorous, sometimes dangerous, always difficult grind will require the best from each of us and from all of us, and the leadership from the mayor and city council. The tools are here. The opportunity is here. Now the real work begins. I encourage you to think the best of each other and to take care of each other as we move forward. Thank you all for making me feel welcome in Harrisburg, and thank you for your kindness toward me. Thanks.
I've only been in office a few short months, a relatively short time, and already I am somewhat overcome by the great responsibilities that I feel for this city, the tremendous amount of work that must be done and that still must be done. And it's given me an even greater appreciation for the office of mayor and for the hard work that it takes to lead a city in distress forward. And I am very well aware that I have inherited a city in a much better place than Mayor Thompson inherited just a little more than 4 years ago. And it is with respect, appreciation for her work and her endeavors, and an optimistic look towards the future that I welcome Mayor Thompson back to Harrisburg City Hall to make a few remarks.
Thank you, Mayor Papenfuss. To the governor, thank you for your leadership and your commitment to helping to save Harrisburg. Thank you, General Lynch. As I always said, that when the general came on board and I heard he was coming on board, I was practicing my salute. But when he got here, I realized I didn't have to use it. And that has been because he has respected my leadership, respected my knowledge, and worked with me as a team. You know, it's just iconic being here because it was just 4 years ago that I stood here with the then governor, Governor Ed Rendell, and filed for Act 47. And that put us on the right path. When it was unpopular to stand against those who were calling for bankruptcy, I stood against the most adverse odds and stood my ground, knowing that it was for the best interest of this entire city and this region. My mayor colleagues all around the world have conversated with me and still do. Back then, they weren't envying me, but today they do, because they knew we had a monumental task. That task has been completed, and I'm honored to have been the mayor that has led this city through its solvency. I'm honored for the support we got from the governor and the experts that came along to work with the city government to make it happen. And so I stand here on behalf of all the great administrators who helped us get to this point. From the Public Works Director that was under my leadership, to the Business Administrator, to the COO, Bob Kroboff, I share in this glory. I most importantly thank God who gave us the wisdom to get to where we are today. Harrisburg is in a much better place today. And you're right, the administration has now been given an opportunity to not have to have the mantle that I was given, and that was full of debt. The incinerator debt has been removed, the structural deficits have been removed, and now it's just uphill growth. And we look forward to it. Groundwork has been laid in economic development. We've left the mayor $1.2 million for economic development startup funds. We've also created great public safety initiatives, and we know that the mayor has a right to add to what he's going to bring to the table. But most importantly, we ask the citizens to take on greater responsibility in making sure that your city, that is now in a better position, continues to grow, so that we really can be what I've always called this shining city on top of a hill. And so thank you all for coming out today to yet report again that the city is debt-free. It's in much better shape than it was before when I took office, and I wish the new mayor much luck and Godspeed. Thank you all.
And two final thank yous. First, I want to just say a heartfelt thanks, extend a working hand of friendship to Fred Rettig, who will be taking over as the new coordinator. Harrisburg is very fortunate to have him. There is no one more knowledgeable about Harrisburg's finances, and he is somebody with whom all of the departments of the city are already well acquainted. We look forward to a very positive working relationship. And also, again, just to emphasize the hard work and the dedication of Harrisburg City Council. We are represented here today by Brad Kaplinski and Bruce Weber. I want to thank also Council President Williams and all the other members of City Council who couldn't be here today, but who worked tirelessly as part-time employees of this city, day in and day out, to give of themselves to make sure that we would have a collective, positive solution that would allow the city to move forward. So with that, we would be happy to take media questions.
Mayor, do you have any goals for when you'd like to see Harrisburg get out of Act 47?
Yes, I think it is absolutely achievable. I certainly hope it will and expect it to be within my first term. And I think that will be another milestone of almost unprecedented proportions for a third-class city like Harrisburg to emerge. I believe that that can be done with proper policies in place. We can set the city on the road to self-sufficiency, and we intend to emerge from Act 47. Yes?
Hi, I think this is a question for the governor or maybe Mr. Rettig. So I understand that Harrisburg was in an emergency situation, but given that other third-class cities have not fared so well under Act 47, does it take a state takeover to usher a city out of the program?
The fact that some aren't out of that doesn't necessarily reflect that they don't know how to get their way out of it. It's a matter of having the tools to get themselves out of it, and one of those issues is going to be able to deal with their pension crisis, as I said earlier. What you see in the problems, and Fred, I'm going to ask you to feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this, is not necessarily related to some of the debt issues that the city of Harrisburg had that put them into the very precarious fiscal position that they were in. It has more to do with the legacy issues that are existing in a number of the cities that are in Act 47. And I know that DCED and Fred and Alan Walker are working with those cities. We continue to have conversations with the cities. We have new mayors in some of those cities, so we'll continue to have that dialogue. Okay.
Governor, after the first receiver resigned, and that would be David Unkovic, you then appointed General Lynch. What was your feelings in between that time? You had a receiver that actually was a Democrat that resigned, very important position. You made a quote one time that not many governors get a chance to appoint receivers. What were your feelings? Were you nervous about what could happen in the city in between those two receivers?
No, I think, the city was on the right road. The receiver, David Unkovic, did a very good job. I've actually known David for a very, very long time. We were lawyers in, not in the same firm, but in the same building in Pittsburgh for a while, so I knew his qualities, and for personal reasons, he decided to resign, and then it was a matter of focusing on who to replace him and working with DCED. Having known General Lynch for many years before, I thought he was a perfect person, and he was willing to do it. He's in retirement. Not exactly, this is what you call working retirement that he's been. That's a working retirement. And maybe he'll get to do some retirement. Maybe his wife will get to see him a little bit more now.
Given the,
Are you getting paid twice, I hope?
unfortunately, no. Given some of the key elements of the strong plan, namely that the debt is being taken over, or new debt is being taken on by a state agency, that the state has entered a long-term contract for parking and has entered a purchase agreement for electricity from the incinerator, what do you say to people who term the deal a state bailout of the city?
Well, I don't get into descriptions. We have, this is the capital city. It's very important that a capital city, it's very important that all of our cities are able to survive. We are quite a user of services here in the capital city. We are a user of the parking, of the fire, the ability to have the fire equipment and fire operators or firemen, first responders able to come to us. I think it's just a matter of being fair.
Governor, is there anything you can say about a process going forward in which, say, consultants, advisors, contractors will be pursued to collect money from them? I'm talking about the folks who are involved in the retrofit of the incinerator, giving advice on the far end to support it.
Well, what you're talking about are two different avenues, one being civil, one being criminal. Would you agree with me on that?
I was thinking more along the lines of civil, but
Okay.
I'll let you go wherever you want to go.
Well, I'm not going to go to the criminal. I was going to make my point, because there are others that are doing that, and that's not my job anymore. From the civil side, my general counsel, Jim Schultz, oversees that for me. We have people hired to do that, and they will continue to move forward and see what recoveries can be made. Thank you all.